Uncharted 2 is the greatest thing since tax fraud. Yes, after playing this game for a month and finally finishing it, I can say with confidence that it is a lot better than the first. Now, that isn't a shocking statement, as everyone has always said this is the best one in the series. For those of you that are confused, this is part 2 in my 4-part series where I review each game in the Uncharted series to see how they hold up nowadays. And also because, like the rest of you, I have nothing else to do. In the first video, I talked about how the first Uncharted was a fun adventure game with great characters and a majestic ending. If you haven't seen that video or just want to get caught up before watching this one, the link is right here. So going into this one, I was excited as all hell to see how Naughty Dog upped the ante and improved upon the game's story and mechanics. So now, after having played the game, I can attest that, yeah, it's pretty great. But that's not to say it's without its flaws, which there are plenty of, but we'll get to that later. But from this point on, I should probably add spoilers and opinion warning! But yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into my review of Uncharted 2. Like I said, I was very excited going into this game, as from what I was hearing, this is one of the all-time PlayStation masterpieces, right up there with Last of Us, Metal Gear Solid, and Knack 2. I was going in thinking that every aspect from the first one would be improved upon, and while in some instances that is true, I would say a more accurate description would not be that everything is improved, but amplified. Everything that I either loved or hated from the first one is here, but there's twice as much of it. In some ways, this is great, but in others, it severely brings down the overall experience. But let's jump into the stuff that I liked. Like last time, let's start with the gunplay, and thank God they fixed it! Shooting is no longer the slow, clunky mess that it was in the first game. Aiming feels smoother, and the cover system is implemented so much better that I actually used it. Another thing I noticed was that the shooting galleries are bigger, and whereas the first game usually had all the action take place on flat ground, lots of the galleries in this one have multiple floors, allowing you to obtain high ground on your enemies. Also, one big addition to the combat system is the introduction of stealth. I really liked the way stealth was implemented throughout the game. It wasn't a constant thing and was more so sprinkled in at the beginning of a couple chapters, but I really enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of the Hitman series, and I could see a little bit of the inspiration rub off in these parts. Now, I want to get back to that point I made about a lot of stuff being amplified. Like I said, this can work in the game's favor. Take the graphics, which are heavily improved upon from the first game and still hold up in the year 2020. The graphics are absolutely fantastic and do a great job of immersing you in the world, from the beautiful mountains of Tibet to the war-torn streets of Nepal. On the other hand, the amplification can be a sin from hell. Because remember the one thing that pissed me off the most in the last game? The camera. Well, it's back, and it is so much worse. Oh no. Oh my god! Like, yeah, they literally took the feature that was bad enough in the first one and cranked it up to 11. That is also, funny enough, the amount of time it took for me to figure out where to start climbing in the very first level of the game because the camera threw me off when it changed angles after the oh-so-slightest movement from my joystick. But yeah, I've already stated my gripes with the camera, and I have a feeling that this will be a recurring theme with these games. Okay, so let's see. I talked about the shooting, the graphics, the camera. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, the god-awful puzzles! While they could be repetitive, I didn't inherently dislike the puzzles in the first game. They were small, and the pictures in Nate's notebook helped me understand the little details for completing them. However, I can only imagine that this is how Naughty Dog decided to implement puzzles in this game. Okay, so we got some mixed feedback on our puzzle sections. So for this game, let's make them bigger, more complex, and let's make them so you have absolutely no clue how to solve them. These puzzles, while great in spectacle, are severely lacking in the department of fun. All these puzzles are longer and more intricate, which wouldn't be a problem if the game at least hinted how to do them. And don't tell me that his notebook had the answers like in the last game, because I don't know anyone who could decipher this shit in less than 10 minutes. The only puzzle I was able to do fast and efficiently was the Mirror Triad one, but that's only because Loic was coaching me through it the whole time. Every time the story was ramping up, I was hit with a puzzle, and the game would come to a grinding halt. So yeah, congrats puzzles, you've officially taken the top spot on my most hated Uncharted features list. Alright, bad stuff out of the way. Okay, How about we talk about that story? So now you're probably waiting for my take on the story, huh? Well, it's pretty goddamn great. Yes, once again, the story is the biggest pro about this game, and it definitely benefited from the amplification. Whereas the first game took place on one small island, Uncharted 2 is an epic, globe-trotting adventure that takes you to different locations that are just as beautiful as the last. The story once again follows Nathan Drake, 2 years after the events of the first game, who is tracking down the Chintamani stone from the lost city of Shambhala. In the first part of the game, you attempt to pull off an elaborate heist with Flynn, a wisecracking, roguish fellow treasure hunter, and Chloe, Nate's former work partner and the sexiest woman ever put on screen. However, things don't go too smoothly, and Flynn betrays Drake, leaving him to get caught and thrown in jail. 3 months later, he's freed by Chloe and Sully, who makes his return in this game, and while he didn't get much screen time, I appreciated his presence. They soon discover that Flynn is working for a Serbian warlord named Lazarevic, who is also looking for the stone. From then forward, Nate and Chloe track down Lazarevic through Nepal and piece together clues about Shambhala. Along the way, they cross paths with Elena and team up to track down Lazarevic before he can reach Shambhala. Once again, video games prove that they do a much better job of imitating movies than movies do of imitating video games. This game's story could literally be a movie. It has good pacing for the most part, great character interaction, witty dialogue, epic action set pieces. Like, what more do you want? While yes, it can be a bit predictable and cliche, and yes, while there can be a little too much double crossing, and yes, while Lazarevic is just your big run-of-the-mill brooding military bad guy, it entertains you. Like, just look at this and tell me you're not entertained.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Hey! Shoot! Did he just do that? Did he just do that?
Tell me, are you not entertained? Every scene literally oozes summer blockbuster material, and hey, I'm just saying, there have been quite a bit of summer blockbusters that, shall we say, borrow Uncharted style. Okay, but for real, can I just take a minute to tell you my favorite part of the game? The train level. The train level is so good. This one level alone is a 10 out of 10 on a technical level and a gameplay level. You'd think that a level that just takes place on a train would be pretty straightforward, and while it pretty much is just get from point A to point B, the free climbing, implemented stealth, enemy variety, and mini-bosses make this a challenging level as well. But the best part is that the whole time, the train is moving through a fully rendered world model that paces appropriately to how fast or slow you're completing the level. It doesn't matter if you slowly stealth your way to the checkpoints or speedrun it guns blazing, the game knows how to pace the train to your playing style. I love this so much. It's those small little attentions to detail that I really respect in developers. So yeah, the story, amazing. If it kept me engaged every time I was playing, then it had to be pretty damn good.
At its core, Insomniac Games' adventure strives to make you feel like Spider-Man.
Uncharted 2 is better than Uncharted 1. There's no question. And I can see why people love this game so much. I do too. This game is an incredible, thrilling action epic that still holds up and retains so much of the joy and care that went into making it. However, as much as I want to give it a 9, I cannot deny that the bad parts really stand out in retrospect. I watched and read a lot of different reviews while writing this script, and I saw a lot of people praising this game and only talking about the good, and either brushing over or not even mentioning the bad. And the reasoning behind that is because the good stuff is just so good. It stands out in your memory whenever you think of the game. But the truth of the matter is you have to acknowledge the fact that the bad is at least a quarter of the game. So after much review and thought, my final score for Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is an 8.5 out of 10. Some of you might think this is too low. Some of you may think it's too high, but at the end of the day, it felt right to me, and I hope I explained why. So, wow, I am officially halfway through the Uncharted series, and so far, I've really enjoyed it, and I'm living on a prayer that Uncharted 3 delivers another great experience. But yeah, until next time, this is the Lagging Cactus signing out. Peace.
Go on, boost you up.
Oh.
Alright, not bad.
There was a time that I did that, and she said, I think you're enjoying this a little too much.
When you put it that way, it does sound pretty stupid.
Yeah, thanks for the input, Jeff.
And it's supposedly
My name
in
is
this
Jeff.
temple.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh my lord, dude. Alright. This guy is such a little bitch. I mean,
Yeah, I hate him.
I'm pretty sure he dies anyway.
Prince Zuko much?
He's strict. Little man. Little man.